can say, using sex as a band-aid, yeah, to fix their problem, yeah, to forget the problem for some time, and again they are back to square one, and again now they are randomly into, sleeping around and randomly doing things, without enjoying, without, experiencing pleasure. It's just a random act to momentarily forget things. Hey everyone, I hope everyone is doing good and taking good care of themselves. So today I'm going to talk about why many survivors, struggle with hypersexuality. I mean, those individuals who are raised by narcissistic parents, why do they, struggle with hypersexuality? And before I get going, I would request you all to like, share, subscribe the channel, hit the notification bell so you guys are updated whenever we put out a new content. So hypersexuality, is not all about, sex. Hypersexuality is an intense, preoccupation with sexual thoughts, urges, or behaviors that feel compulsive and, which are difficult to control. Yeah, it's not just about, having high sex drive. It's often, a kind of a trauma response, a way to cope with deep emotional wounds, because we are not given the tools. I mean, growing up in a narcissistic household, we are not regulated, we are not educated in the right way, and as a result of which, we really don't know what are the right tools, what are the right ways to soothe ourselves, to cope, to regulate ourselves. We are just unaware. Yeah, and in some of the cases, we do, become a little hypersexual. Yeah, and it's a kind of a very, I would say, um natural, response, natural trauma response, because when you don't have the tools, you start using the things that you have in hand to soothe yourself, to regulate yourself, to calm yourself, to relax yourself. Yeah, and that further creates more problem in life, because we are unaware, we don't have the right tools, we are not educated in the right way, we are constantly in that fight and flight state. The entire environment is chaotic, unpredictable, and as a result of which, we um, start using, things that, we have control over. Yeah, and one such thing is our sexual urge, sexuality, desire. Yeah. So we are going to talk about, hypersexuality today. I mean, why, do we, struggle with hypersexuality? I mean, those individuals, who are raised by narcissistic parents. Now, before I dive deep, um, an important disclaimer: not everyone, suffers from hypersexuality. I mean, not every, adult children who are raised by narcissistic parent, struggle with hypersexuality. But yes, there are, quite a lot of them who struggle with hypersexuality. Yeah? The first reason why a lot of us struggle with hypersexuality is lack of healthy boundaries. So narcissistic parents, I mean, we know, don't respect boundaries. They may invade their, children's personal space, privacy. They will, try and control, their kids, I mean their children's body, or even, force affection, in ways that make the child, feel powerless. I mean, it's there in every narcissistic family. Narcissistic parents, are into forcing themselves on their children in every way possible. Yeah, because there is nothing called boundary. They see you as an extension of themselves, and they think that it's okay to treat you however they wish and please. Yeah, and some of the treatment actually, makes the child feel extremely powerless. Now when this child grows up, without a clear sense of, bodily autonomy, these kids, may struggle, to set sexual boundaries later in life. Yeah, and this leads to, a kind of a very erratic, impulsive, or risky behavior in adulthood. Yeah, they become very reckless. Yeah, when it comes to sex, expression, engaging into some sexual activity, they become very reckless. They are impulsive because they don't know what boundary is. Narcissistic parents were forcing themselves onto them. There was no concept, or there was no boundary at home. It was all narcissistic parents and their wants, needs, and desire, and that's it. Your autonomy, your privacy, your space, it was not a topic of concern for your narcissistic parent. And as a result of which, you grew up believing that it's absolutely okay to not have boundaries. It's absolutely okay to not have privacy. It's absolutely okay to be an open book. And as a result of which, we display a lot of risky behavior. We are impulsive, and we tend to suffer. Yeah, we really don't know what sexual boundaries are. Yeah, because there was no awareness about boundary in the narcissistic family, because that's how they control every aspect of your life. They shame you if you uphold boundary. If you talk about boundary and space and privacy, they are going to shame you and tell you you are ungrateful. After all the things that I have done for you, now you want privacy, boundary, space. They're going to label you as selfish, mean, ungrateful. So as a result of which, you grow up believing that there is no need for boundary in any or every area of life. Yeah, and you fail to exercise boundary, and as a result of which, you get into a lot of mess. Yeah, and you tend to suffer. Yeah, people force themselves onto you. You recklessly get into relationship with others, you know because you really don't have the right tools to soothe yourself or to regulate yourself. Yeah, so because of this lack of healthy boundary, a lot of adult children of narcissistic parents struggle and battle with hypersexuality. They are very impulsive, reckless, and they get into the sleeping business, multiple partners, without even thinking. And I've seen in a lot of cases where these individuals are getting into multiple relationships, and it's out of impulsivity. They are just not prepared. They don't know how things will turn out, and they are just jumping into relationship with this person, with that person. They are getting into sexual relationship with random people, and all of it was basically to soothe themselves. All of it was basically a kind of a coping mechanism. Yeah, because they were unable to control things in their life, and they did not know what boundary was, and as a result of which they really don't know how they need to express, where they need to draw line and boundary. Yeah, they are just erratic. They are just impulsive and hypersexual. The other reason why survivors suffer from hypersexuality, I mean those individuals who are raised by narcissistic parents, is because of early exposure to sexualization. So some narcissistic parents, especially covert narcissistic parents, expose their children to sexual themes too early. Yeah, whether through inappropriate jokes, conversations, or even direct abuse. Yeah, I mean anything and everything is possible in narcissistic homes, narcissistic families, by these narcissistic parents. These narcissistic parents might also encourage their child to be charming or desirable in ways that subtly reinforce the idea that their worth is tied to their sexuality. Yeah, and this premature exposure, yeah, I mean you're still kid, and your parent is exposing you to all these things which is not age appropriate. Now, this premature exposure can create an unhealthy fixation on sex. Yeah, so the kids are obsessed about sex. Yeah, because subtly they are being exposed to these things. They are being brainwashed and educated that your worth is tied to sexuality, how well you perform, how well you look, how desirable you are. Yeah, I mean these things are okay if the child is grown up, an adult, then maybe, the child can, educate himself, or you can, expose him and educate him about these things. But, exposing your children, from an early age about these things, I think that's really bad. And as a result of which, these kids, these kids, when they grow up to be adult, they, have unhealthy fixation on sex. They're obsessed about sex. I'm going to have sex, and that's how I will be, famous. I'm going to be desirable. I'm going to sleep with hell lot of people, and, the world is going to be behind me. World is going to, be my fan under my feet. I have seen a lot of, individuals, who have a lot of distorted understanding about things. Yeah. And, they really mess things up. Yeah, because they were not educated in a proper way. They were exposed to things quite early, in life, and as a result of which, they really don't know where they need to draw boundary, where they need to draw the line. Yeah, they have this unhealthy fixation on sex. Yeah, they're obsessed about sex. For sex, they are going to any extent. They are ruining themselves. They are, losing things. They are, losing financially. They are losing emotionally, and it's all for sex. And they think that my worth is, tied to sex. Yeah, if I am able to have, a good, sexual, chemistry, or if I'm able to have a good, sexual connection, then I'm good. I'm okay, and I should feel good about it. And if I'm unable to establish good sexual relationship connection with someone, there's something wrong with me. I need to work harder. I need to prove myself that, I'm desirable. And that's how, I will have this sense of worth. Yeah. My worth is tied, to sexuality. My worth is tied to my sexual performance. My worth is tied to, the number of girls or boys I sleep with. These narcissistic parents really mess you up at various levels. And, they leave you to suffer for the rest of your life. The other reason why, survivors or individuals who are raised by narcissistic parents, struggle with hypersexuality is because of, seeking validation through sex. So narcissistic parents, condition their children to seek external validation because love is given conditionally. Yeah, that's how things are in narcissistic family. If you do things their way, you will be validated. If you don't do things their way, you won't be validated. So you need to keep doing more and more and more, and, keep doing things in a manner or in a way that, is approved by your narcissistic parents. Yeah. So, if, a child is growing up in an environment where, love is only given conditionally, this child, learns that their value comes from pleasing others. And, they may later, use sex as a way to feel loved, accepted, or worthy. They are not necessarily seeking pleasure, they are seeking proof that they matter. Now, do you understand how things are getting messed up in the child's head? Yeah, because love was conditionally in the narcissistic family by the narcissistic parent. And as a result of which, now the child grows up believing that, pleasure is not important. I need to be of some service. I need to be of some use to the other. And that's how, I will feel, worthy. I will feel accepted. I will feel loved, and I will feel relevant. Yeah, if I am of some sexual use and purpose to others. Yeah. So again, it's really damaging. This understanding that the child grows up believing is really, I would say, damaging for the child. But do these narcissistic parents care? No. They sow seeds of doubt in you. They gaslight you into believing that your worth is tied to, the things that you bring on the table. Your worth is tied to, to your performance, how well you please me. And as a result of which, the child believes that he or she has to do more and more and more. And the same thing is, with their, sexuality. The same thing is with their sex life. They don't look out for pleasure, they don't look out for happiness, or, mutual love, and, having a good time. They are just, looking for acceptance, they are looking for validation, and they are looking, you know, uh, opportunities and situations where they can perform and feel worthy and feel loved. That's it. Yeah. So they, don't, see sex, for pleasure. Yeah. They see sex, as a proof, that they matter, they are relevant. The other reason why, adults who are raised by narcissistic parents uh, struggle with hypersexuality is because of dissociation and trauma response. So survivors of narcissistic abuse often, struggle with dissociation, a mental escape from painful emotions or memories. So hypersexuality can become, a form of self-soothing, where the body's pleasure response momentarily numbs, the emotional distress. In some cases, survivors, even engage in risky or excessive, sexual behavior without fully, feeling present in those moments. Yeah. So, it becomes, a kind of a tool. It becomes a kind of a, process or a form of self-soothing for these survivors. They can't talk about things, they can't share, they fear being judged or labeled. So I mean, the best thing is, just randomly sleep around. Yeah. That momentarily pleasure basically, helps them numb all that emotional distress, confusion, pain and misery. Yeah. Because, they are unable to process, they are unable to talk about things. So the best thing is, to randomly engage into sexual activity with someone or the other, and, numb yourself, soothe yourself. That's it. I mean, it's all momentarily, but, that's how, these individuals survive. Yeah. I mean, some of them even, engage in risky or excessive, sexual behavior without fully, feeling present in, the moment. Yeah. They might get into something really risky, something really thrilling. I mean, they might have that, thrill seeking also inside of them. Yeah. That I'm going to randomly sleep and this and that, and all of it is basically to, in some ways self-soothe. They cannot articulate, they cannot talk, they cannot process, they cannot regulate. And, as a result of which, they start using sex as a tool. Yeah. You can say, using sex as a band-aid. Yeah. To fix their problem. Yeah. To forget the problem for some time, and again they are back to square one, and again now they are randomly into, sleeping around and randomly doing things, without enjoying, without, experiencing pleasure. It's just a random act to momentarily forget things. The other reason why survivors, struggle with hypersexuality is, because of distorted self-worth. So narcissistic parents, constantly, tear down their children's self-esteem, making them feel inadequate and unlovable. Some survivors, learn to compensate by using their sexuality as a tool to gain attention and validation. Yeah, they may believe that being sexually desirable is the only way to be wanted or appreciated or loved. Yeah. So, that treatment in the childhood, yeah, I mean, them constantly making you feel inadequate or unlovable. Yeah. I mean, you grow up to be adult, who, learns that in order to compensate all of that, I need to use my sexuality. I need to use sex as a tool to gain attention and validation. Yeah. So, they will be very obsessed about their performance. How was I in bed? Did you enjoy? Did you like? I mean, they will, want to know, your, feedback. They crave feedback. Yeah. Because they are not, equipped with the right tools. They are not trained and educated in the, right way. So they think that, by just having sex, using their sexuality will, get them attention, validation, love, affection. Yeah. That's like a, tool for them to feel loved, worthy, and, um someone, who exists. Yeah. Someone who's there. Yeah. Someone who's not invisible. Yeah. They want to feel as if they are visible and they are loved, worthy, appreciated, validated. So how do they do that? They start using their sexuality. They start, randomly getting into sex. And the last reason why survivors, struggle with hypersexuality is because of reenacting trauma. So our brains, often repeat, patterns from childhood, even when they are harmful. Yeah. So if a narcissistic parent overstepped sexual boundaries, whether, through overt abuse or covert emotional enmeshment, the survivor might subconsciously reenact similar dynamics in adult relationship, and this can lead to engaging in situations that mirror past trauma even if they are unaware of it. Yeah. So because of our trauma, the kind of trauma we are exposed to, the kind of trauma that we experience and endure growing up in narcissistic household, narcissistic family, when you're raised by narcissistic parents, our brain gets into this mode of, subconsciously repeating the same pattern again and again and again, even though it's harmful. Yeah. But again, familiar hell. Yeah, we keep repeating, we keep attracting, we keep engaging in the same thing again and again and again, because it feels home, it feels familiar, and you know it's okay. I will prefer familiar hell over unfamiliar heaven. Yeah. So because of that also, we keep getting into more problem, we keep attracting more problem. Yeah. We keep enacting the same kind of things in our adult relationship, and as a result of which, I mean, we suffer. I mean, some of us really don't want to accept the fact that we suffer because of our old habits and pattern, but that's a fact. Subconsciously we are enacting and doing the same thing that we were exposed to in the childhood. Yeah. Whether it was through overt abuse or covert emotional enmeshment, we keep repeating the same thing again and again, and as a result of which we believe that sex is the only thing with the help of which I can fix problems. Sex is the only thing with the help of which I can keep the relationship intact. Sex is the only thing with the help of which I can feel relevant. Sex is the only thing with the help of which I will get attention, love, fame, I'll be admired. Yeah. So we start misusing the things that we have. Yeah. The power, the capability that is inside of us, we start misusing it because you know of the kind of abuse that we are exposed to since childhood. I have seen a lot of individuals. I mean, in my experience, I mean, from the time I'm practicing, I have come across a lot of clients who have a lot of weird fetishes, who are you can say very paraphilic. Yeah. On that spectrum, and when we get into sessions, when we talk and discuss and open up, a lot of them tend to have a change of heart. They don't like all of those things, the way how they used to like earlier. Yeah. I mean, um, different kinks and different ways of having sex, and a lot of I mean, paraphilic disorder. I mean, you can just google that and you'll understand. So they had a lot of these things in their head, where they used to crave bondage and this and that. And when they started their therapy, their sessions, and when we started talking about things, we started addressing situations, we started addressing their emotion and feeling and how they are perceiving things. Trust me, after some time they actually started having less interest in those things, yeah, that they were interested in earlier. Yeah. So it's all because you have a lot of pent up emotions, you have a lot of things bottling up, you have a lot of things that's choking you, and as a result of which sex is like an escape key. Yeah. Sex is like an escape card. Yeah. That you can just use and escape and dissociate and disconnect and forget things momentarily, and again you are back you know uh, to square one. But again, you will engage into all of these things, and momentarily you will forget. Yeah. So I have seen, and personally, even I used to have a lot of weird thoughts and imaginations related to sex. And I used to feel that maybe this is something that can get me love, maybe this is something that can make me famous, or make me get attention. It comes in your mind that I mean, let me also explore. But some way or the other, I had better control. And I was not that crazy about things. I knew that this is because I'm not talking about things, this is because I'm not expressing. Yeah. And your brain has its own unique way of helping you and soothing you and making you feel home. Yeah. So I had better control. But yes, I mean, not everyone has better control. And a lot of people actually get into shit because of these things. Yeah, because of these urges, because of this distortion, because of such weird interests that they develop. Yeah. And it's because uh, of the kind of abuse they have been exposed to since childhood. And I did come across two or three papers by I think it was these Polish psychologists. And it was amazing the way how they have written about how abuse in a way uh, develops your interests into things which are not mainstream and regular. I get it. I mean, everyone has different taste and preference, but hypersexuality is a different thing altogether. I mean, you might have a preference, you might have a taste, I might have a preference, I might have a taste, but hypersexuality is a different domain altogether, where you are just berserk, where you are just out of control. You are just getting to random things without thinking about the consequences. You're just jumping into things solely to soothe yourself, and momentarily forget the pain and misery and whatsoever things that you have going on the inside. So yes, this was it. This was all about hypersexuality, and how when you are raised by narcissistic parents, I mean, a lot of us struggle with hypersexuality. We don't know boundaries, we jump into things. We think that if we start um, you know using sex, or if we start using our sexuality, we'll be relevant, we'll be admired, loved. But trust me, it ruins us. It eats us on the inside. Yeah, on the soul level, it eats us. Yeah, we keep giving away an important part of our soul. When you randomly sleep with people, I get it. I mean, everyone wants to explore, but I mean, doing things in excess mindlessly, really drains you and depletes you. That's not good. We should respect our body. And we should only get into relationship, or we should only get into things which we are sure about. Yeah. Or at least we should get into things thinking about future. We should not just randomly get into things and not think about future. Yeah, because everything has consequences, everything affects you. Yeah, everything affects you psychologically, mentally, physically, emotionally. It has an impact at a various level. So yes, this was it. In case if you would like to add in something, you can always comment below. Till then, take care of yourself. Lots of love and blessings to all of you. Bye.